Now we're here, or you are here, to announce 2 new Queensberry signings. What a lot of people are asking, so I'll put it to you. Anthony Yarde, is he still a Queensberry fighter?
Yeah, we have our position. We made our position very clear, and that's where we are. And I'm hoping that things will get resolved.
And Ben Shalom, a boxer, did some interviews earlier this week where he said that seems to be the main sticking point in making a fight with Joshua Buatsi, that Yarde declared himself a free agent, but your position, Queensberry's position, is that he still has 1 fight remaining on his contract.
Our position is very simple: is that we agreed terms for to fight Josh Buatsi. We agreed those terms with Boxer, and that is how it's been left. In the meantime, I don't want to. There's some things happening at the moment, and I want to just I don't want to be rushing into it. I don't want to be creating or negotiating through the media or in any way. What's going to be is going to be. We've made it very clear where we're at, and our position remains the same. And
just lastly on that, presumably you want to maintain a relationship with Anthony Yarde going forward.
Of course I do. I mean, I liked Anthony from the very first time I met him. That's the reason we signed him. That's why we signed him, because I liked him. When I met him, I instantly, there was chemistry as far as what you feel, when you look in somebody as a fighter and thinking, what can they do and what they like, that came off of him. You could see that, and he's done extremely well. And he's now coming to he's at the stage of his career now where he can't make any mistakes, and I'm hoping, as I say, we get this resolved, because if he get it resolved, he can move on with his career, and hopefully we can resurrect the position we were in with him. That's it.
2 weeks away now from Undisputed, a Ring of Fire, Tyson Fury, Alexander Usyk. I interviewed your good friend Colin Hart earlier. He says Tyson Fury is in decline, in his opinion, and that unless there's some questionable judging, he's leaning towards Usyk winning the fight. How do you respond to Colin, whose opinion you respect?
I do respect it, but I don't. He's probably basing that off of the last fight he had against Ngannou. I don't use that as a gauge. One thing's for sure, we're going to find out on the 18th. I think Tyson's going to go out and make a statement in the fight.
What have you been hearing from Tyson, the people around him in camp, and has it been encouraging?
I spoke with Tyson, and I've seen the footage, and when I went up to Morecambe to see him, he's jumping out of his skin. He looks so well, it's untrue. And out of bad comes good, and I think the fact that he got that cut at the end of, more or less at the end of it, the sparring preparation for that fight was at the end of his training. He was really fit and well. So he took a few weeks off, and he's back in it. But he hasn't had to go into camp where he's had to, lose a lot of weight or not be sort of match fit. The worry was that he would peak too soon, and he's maintained great fitness levels, and when you talk to Tyson, you know where you are when you're talking about a fight. But more importantly, when you see him and you're looking at the glow on him, this is going to be vintage Tyson Fury, and I think he'll prove Colin more than wrong.
And then you got the 5 versus 5 2 weeks after that. Have there been kind of messages going back and forth between you and Eddie or anyone at Matchroom?
Yeah, I've just told him. I've told him. I said, listen, boys, don't just prepare for a drubbing. And whoever the loser of this, there's a few little bets going around, whatever. But I've got my restaurant ready to pick where he's going to have to pick up the bill, and I'm sure he's got his restaurant. But unfortunately for you, Ed, you're picking up the bill, mate.
You're finally going to have lunch together. This has been 2 years in the making.
Look, I think this has been brilliant for boxing. I mean, it's captured everybody's imagination, and more importantly, you've got great fights there. There's 5 really good quality fights, top the bill anywhere, really excellent fights, and it's just going to be a fabulous night. And look at the main event. It's another great fight between 2 undefeated champions, best at their weight, 2 undefeated champions, 4 belts on the line, and the 5v5. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. I mean, the 2 weeks of boxing in Saudi, Riyadh season special events are going to be something special. They are special events. There's no doubt about that. And then, And we'll be announcing some fights over here as well next week. You know, Chantel's debut for Queensberry and a raft of other championship fights. Boxing's on a high at the moment. It's on a real high, and everybody's getting what they want from it. Fighters are doing well. People are making money. We're making the fights that the people want to see, and these special events, these mega events that are going on in Saudi, we're going to bring one to the UK on the 21st of September. Be a brilliant event. And you've got one on the 3rd of August
in America,
in LA. I mean, you know, you keep looking at it, it just keeps getting bigger and better and better. This is what boxing is all about. Boxing at this moment is on the biggest high that I can think of ever.
And just on the 5v5, from the latest you're hearing, will Dubois and Hrgovic be for the vacant IBF title?
We will see what happens after the 18th.
Fair enough. Just moving on from that, you mentioned the show in September there in the UK. Will Anthony Joshua be involved in that show?
We will be announcing that in due course.
All right, so Anthony Joshua himself and his team have said that his next fight will likely be against the winner of one of the 2 heavyweight fights on 5v5. Do you have a preference if both your guys come through?
Look, the fight I want to see, I'd love an all-British fight. I'd love to see AJ in with Daniel Dubois. That's a brilliant fight. That is a great fight. 2 big punchers. And AJ's on a high at the moment. He's on a roll. He's had two good wins, and his last one was quite spectacular. And if I believe he will, Daniel does a job on Hrgovic, I mean, what more can you want? Nothing better than that fight, is there? Anybody would want to see that.
So just 2 left, because I know you've got other people with demands on your time. First of all, Ryan Garcia, the news about him this week. How do you react to that?
I think it's pretty sad, and I was listening to some of the comments about it. You know, how comes it took so long to find out? I mean, I understand the test was the result of a
weigh-in day and the day of the fight.
The weigh-in day and the day of the fight. Well, they've tested him twice obviously they've tested him twice. He tested positive. You can't get a result straight away. You have to send off, and they're not looking for a specific drug. They're looking for a lot of drugs, sure. And that's why it takes a little bit longer. So why don't you do it better? Why didn't they do it on the Monday? Well, they didn't do it on the Monday because it's called a random test. The idea is that the boxer or the athlete doesn't know when you're coming to do it. Otherwise, if you know that they're coming, then you'd be taking the stuff. If you were that way inclined, you'd take the stuff the day after they go. Well, you know, if it's tested positive, and if it follows through, and it normally follows through that once you're tested positive, very rarely does that get overturned, and it's been found out. And it's a great shame. And when you look at the fight and look at what's come out of that fight, I mean, it's just pretty awful. You know, he was overweight. Apparently, that they take that as that helps to reduce weight as well, doesn't it? Yeah. So they something here, but it's awful. But it shows you one thing: tests work. Testing works. What is the problem is the aftermath, and now the commission has to do something about it, and the governing bodies have to do something about it.
And just finally, we've seen this week the build-up to Canelo against Jaime Munguia out in the US. But it's been overshadowed somewhat by the battle between Oscar De La Hoya and his former charge, Canelo. What have you made of their back and forth?
Look, there's no love lost there, is there? You know, and it is what it is. They're quite passionate with their hatred of each other, their dislike, I should say, of each other. It is what it is. And at the end of the day, it shouldn't overshadow the fight because the fight's quite a good fight. You've got to favour Canelo to win the fight. But I think Canelo's coming to this stage of his career where it could happen that he gets beaten.
Brilliant. Frank, really appreciate it.
Pleasure,